The rain had been falling for hours that Tuesday afternoon when Marcus Chen knelt down on the wet sidewalk beside his 8-year-old son Derek. They had just left the bookstore and were heading home when Derek tugged insistently on his father's sleeve. "Dad, look," the boy whispered, pointing toward two small girls in matching red dresses standing near a storefront. The twins couldn't have been more than 4 years old, with blonde curls tied up in red ribbons. They stood perfectly still, their tiny hands clasped over their hearts, their eyes wide and searching. Marcus watched as person after person hurried past the little girls. Some glanced down briefly before looking away. Others walked by without even noticing them. The rain came down harder now, and the twins just stood there getting wetter by the minute. "Where are their parents?" Derek asked, worry creeping into his voice. Marcus scanned a busy street, looking for anyone who might be searching for two lost children. That's when he noticed something. The girls weren't calling out. They weren't crying. They were just watching the faces of everyone who passed by with an expression Marcus recognized all too well. It was a look of children who had learned that their voices couldn't reach the world around them. Marcus had grown up with a deaf grandmother. She had taught him sign language when he was barely older than Derek was now. Those lessons had given him more than just words with his hands. They had given him a window into a world that most people never took the time to understand. He stood up slowly and walked toward the twins, with Derek following close behind. As Marcus approached, the girls took a small step back, their eyes uncertain. He smiled gently, then raised his hand and signed a simple word. "Hello." The transformation was instant. Both girls' faces lit up like someone had switched on a light inside them. Their small hands flew up in response. "Hello," they signed back, their fingers moving with practiced ease. One of them pointed to herself, then signed, "I am Sophie." The other girl copied the gesture, "I am Sarah." Marcus felt his throat tighten at the pure relief in their expressions. "I'm Marcus," he signed. "This is my son, Derek." Derek waved shyly, and the twins waved back, their earlier fear melting away. "Are you lost?" Marcus signed. Both girls nodded vigorously. Sarah pointed down the street, then made a sign that Marcus understood meant mother. Sophie added more signs, explaining that they had been looking at toys in a store window when they turned around and their mother was gone. Marcus pulled out his phone, but before he could decide what to do, he saw a woman in a cream-colored business suit running toward them. Her face was streaked with tears, her hair disheveled from the rain. "My babies!" She cried out, though the twins couldn't hear her. She dropped to her knees on the wet pavement and pulled both girls into her arms. The woman looked up at Marcus, her eyes red and grateful. "Thank you," she gasped. "I only turned away for a second to pay for something, and when I looked back, they were gone. I've been searching everywhere." Marcus nodded, understanding the terror she must have felt. "They're okay," he said quietly. They were very brave. The woman stood up, still holding her daughters close. "No one would stop," she said, her voice breaking. "I watched people walk right past them. I was so scared." She looked down at her daughters and back at Marcus. "How did you know to sign to them?" Marcus glanced at Derek, then back at the woman. "My grandmother was deaf," he explained. "She taught me that silence doesn't mean invisible and that everyone deserves to be seen." The woman's name was Jennifer Hartley, and she insisted on taking down Marcus's phone number. She wanted to do something to thank him, she said. Marcus told her it wasn't necessary, but she was insistent. As Jennifer led her daughters away, Sophie and Sarah turned back and signed, "Thank you one more time." Their small hands formed the words with such sincerity that Marcus felt his eyes begin to sting. Derek looked up at his father as they continued walking home. "Dad, why didn't those other people stop?" Marcus thought about the question carefully. "Sometimes people don't stop because they don't know how to help," he said finally. "Sometimes they're too busy or too worried about their own problems." He paused and added, "But sometimes, Derek, we don't stop because we've forgotten how to really see other people." Derek was quiet for a moment, processing this. "I'm glad you remembered," he said softly. Marcus put his arm around his son's shoulders. "Me too, buddy, me too." 3 days later, Jennifer called. She asked if Marcus and Derek would come to dinner. When they arrived at the Hartley home that Saturday evening, Sophie and Sarah ran to greet them. The girls had made a banner that read, "Thank you, Marcus and Derek," in bright colors with their handprints decorating the edges. Over dinner, Jennifer shared how isolated she sometimes felt raising deaf children in a world that wasn't always patient or understanding. "Most people don't even try," she said quietly. "They see the girls can't hear and they just give up." Marcus understood. He remembered how his grandmother used to say that the hardest part of being deaf wasn't the silence. It was the loneliness of being surrounded by people who couldn't be bothered to communicate. Before Marcus and Derek left that evening, Sophie tugged on Marcus's sleeve. She signed something, and her mother translated with tears in her eyes. "She says you were the first stranger who ever said hello." Marcus knelt down so he was eye level with both twins. "You know what?" He signed. "I think there are going to be a lot more people who say hello to you from now on." He looked at Jennifer. "Would you be interested in teaching a sign language class at the community center?" Jennifer's eyes widened. "Do you think people would come?" Marcus smiled. "I think there are more people who want to help than you might imagine. They just need someone to show them how." 2 months later, the community center's first sign language class had a waiting list. Jennifer taught twice a week, and Derek was one of her most dedicated students. Marcus would watch his son practice the signs over, and over-determined to get each one perfect. "Why is this so important to you?" Marcus asked him one evening. Derek looked up from his practice sheet. "Because, Dad, what if Sophie and Sarah get lost again? What if next time you're not there?" He paused and added, "I want to be the person who stops." Marcus pulled his son into a hug, feeling proud beyond words. The twins weren't just teaching Derek sign language. They were teaching him something far more valuable. They were teaching him to see people, really see them. And in a world that moved too fast and looked away too often, that was perhaps the most important lesson of all. Because kindness isn't always about grand gestures or heroic acts. Sometimes it's just about stopping, looking someone in the eye, and taking the time to say hello. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to share, and subscribe to hear more stories that celebrate the small moments of kindness that change lives. Leave a comment below telling us about a time when someone took the time to really see you. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.